And he asks Phil Murphy, what specific delegated powers as the governor of New Jersey were you using to basically have people arrested who were praying in a synagogue under your quarantine orders in light of the Wuhan virus from China? What specific powers? It was not an adversarial interview, and it's obviously a very fair, if not appropriate, question right now. And I want you to listen to his response, the governor, specifically his response about the Bill of Rights, which he appears to believe is above his pay grade. Check this out.
Was the right decision to make.
So you made that decision, and as I noted before, 15 congregants at a synagogue in New Jersey were arrested and charged for being in a synagogue together. Now, the Bill of Rights, as you well know, protects Americans' right, enshrines their right to practice their religion as they see fit and to congregate together, to assemble peacefully. By what authority did you nullify the Bill of Rights in issuing this order? How do you have the power to do that?
That's above my pay grade, Tucker. So I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this. We went to first of all, we looked at the data and the science, and it says people have to stay away from each other. That's the best thing we could do to break the back of the curve of this virus that leads to lower hospitalizations and ultimately fatalities.
And I'm not contesting that.
Say what?
So, all right. Let's do our best here. Listen, I've got no personal beef with Governor Murphy, and I understand, even though I have sincere, heartfelt ideological differences with these Democrat governors, Cuomo and Murphy, that this is a serious public health crisis. It's not virtue signaling; that's just a fact. Where their politics, don't matter when it comes to, my criticism. This is a criticism of a guy who is clearly clueless. So he's suggesting that arresting people for praying in a synagogue is okay because the Bill of Rights is above his pay grade. You're the governor of New Jersey. Are you kidding me? And that because some scientists told him people have to stay away from each other. Now, Joe, I'm reasonably confident I've read the Bill of Rights once or twice, maybe, if not a couple thousand times. To be serious, I'm not messing with you. I'm not sure there's an asterisk in there that says, but if scientists say there's a contagion out there that may infect other people if you're close to them, that the freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, petition, all of those rights we have in the First Amendment enshrine, that those rights go out the window. I don't remember reading that anywhere in the Constitution. And even worse, I'm reasonably confident as well, if you're the governor of one of the biggest states in the country, in the Northeast Corridor, that you are not absolved of your constitutional obligations either because there's a contagion out there. I didn't read that in the Constitution either. The Bill of Rights, asterisk, but not if scientists say otherwise, asterisk number 2, and not if you're a governor of a big state. I didn't read that. I don't know if you did. To our liberals in the audience, if you can show me that asterisk in there, I'd love to see it. Is it a sub-bullet? Is it in an appendix, an appendices somewhere? Is it in the photo section of the book? I'm not sure. Is there a photo constitution where there's a photo binder in the middle and there's a little photo that says, doesn't apply if there's an infectious disease? Not sure I read that.
Gonna take some real investigating, man. Yeah.
Have at it, folks. Do your investigative thing. I'm reasonably confident you're going to come up with naught.
Bingo.
With 0. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I asked the question and Tucker followed up with another excellent question yesterday, and I'll ask you this because the governor had no answer, so I'm not going to, there's no answer he had. It made no sense. There are a lot of infectious diseases out there. Some transmitted in a respiratory fashion through airborne droplets, some sexually transmitted, some transmitted through blood, Ebola, and others, bodily fluids. So what you're suggesting, if there's an infectious agent, you have now the power to keep people and order them away from, even if they're praying out there in a service and they can take upon themselves public health measures. I'm just checking. Ladies and gentlemen, if that's the case, it's all over. The constitutional republic is dead. I said to you yesterday, folks, it's time to dance. It's not the first person who dances, right? It's the first person who follows that person dancing, and then person 3, and then everybody's dancing at the same time. It's going to take some bravery to step up out there. We all know it. But, folks, this is ridiculous. Now, I said to you yesterday, I believe the lawsuits are going to change everything. I know that doesn't have a, and forgive me, it doesn't have a William Wallace like, hold, remember with the spears? It doesn't have like a William Wallace kind of like freedom feel. You know what goes, lawsuits, nobody. I get that. But ladies and gentlemen, the effectiveness of the lawsuit, as my friend Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch always says, the process in the lawsuit is the punishment. It is. No one wants to be sued. It's not even if you're going to win. It's the fact you have to go through the lawsuit that costs you the money. Trust me when I tell you, although it doesn't have a William Wallace fight kind of let's go esprit de corps attitude, it's the lawsuits that are going to bury these tyrants. Now, even the left is picking up on this. This is a follow-up to yesterday's show because I'm seeing these articles appear. So here's an article at Slate Magazine. I'm warning you, there's a narrative alert. The left is worried about lawsuits now. They're terrified because they love this police state nonsense. They think this is great. Ladies and gentlemen, they're trying to soften people up. Sorry, I have something in my eye. They're trying to soften people up and get them accustomed to the idea of a big government footprint in their lives all the time. They love the police state. The greatest irony being many on the left, Antifa, a lot of these, what do we want? Dead cops, when do we want them now? Actually hate law enforcement. But if they can use law enforcement to soften people up and get a big government imposition of central planners in their life and get them accustomed to it, they'll be on the side of law enforcement till the end of times. So there's a narrative brewing here. So as I said to you, so you can follow me, I don't want to confuse you and do a circuitous kind of reasoning here, right? These Democrat governors and some Republicans, we've seen it with Hogan in Maryland and others, not to single him out, but others, are engaged in really soft tyrannical acts in violation of the Bill of Rights, and they're using this virus as cover. Folks, the governor, we're all adults here. You can recommend to people public health measures. We can do certain things. We can rewrite some laws with respect to the Bill of Rights that don't stomp all over people's civil liberties while still containing this virus. That's not what we've done. We have the governor of Michigan, a total disaster, Gretchen Whitmer, who's turned into King George overnight. You can't buy seeds in a supermarket. I mean, this is absurd. It's ridiculous. There's no basis in science here. She's just making it up because she fell in love with Lord Acton. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan seems to think she has absolute power. The left loves it. Tyranny? Left loves tyranny. The left needs to defend tyranny because there's been a public backlash, as evidenced by the Patriots in Michigan who showed up yesterday in their vehicles and said, no, not on my watch. Many of them showed up. So now the left has to build another story to defend their tyranny because they don't want to come out and tell you they're tyrants. So the next line, Joe, the narrative alert's going to be is, this is all partisan nonsense, these lawsuits. You don't believe me? It's already out there. Look at this piece in Slate. Not a down-the-center magazine. This is a left-leaning magazine, Slate. And here's the article by David Goloff. It comes up on Just Security, but I found it at slate.com. Governors and mayors, beware. Lawsuits opposing coronavirus mitigation orders are a real threat. So narrative alert, it's already happening. The lawsuits are coming in Greenville. You saw Greenville, Mississippi, where the mayor's now, in response to issuing tickets for a religious service, the mayor's backing off that. The dreadful governor of Kentucky, Bashir, has lawsuits against him on these religious services thing. The lawsuits are going to be the great corrective. Freedom, lawsuits. Believe me, it may not have the same aura, but it's going to have the same effect. It is going to change how governing works here. The left hates this. They love the police state tyranny, and they don't want any of you fighting back. So they're already issuing warnings to the governor. And listen to the narrative alert, narrative alert. In other words, the left has a fairy tale to tell you to disguise their tyranny from this Slate piece. This tells it all. You'll see more of this as time goes on. Quote, it's difficult to avoid seeing partisan motivations. Partisan motivations, Joe. Nothing to do with the Bill of Rights or freedom or anything like that. This is all partisan motivations. Listen to the explanation here. behind these judicial decisions. They're talking about the decision in Wisconsin to let the election go ahead and others. The most striking feature of the Supreme Court's decisions, however, is the extent to which it ignores the existence of the coronavirus crisis. The majority's silence appears to suggest that the threat to public health posed by the virus is simply not, in its view, a sufficient basis for extraordinary measures. Here we go. These people are not stupid. Now, one of the benefits of listening to this show is you are always 2 to 3 weeks, if not months ahead of what the current narrative and the next narrative is going to be in the sequence of lefty BS narratives. They need cover. They need to scare people. They're trying to frighten the Supreme Court into backing up their Gretchen Whitmer-like leftist tyranny in Michigan because they love leftist tyranny. They want central planners to be able to plan and shut down the economy and open it up when they say. So they're trying to intimidate the Supreme Court by suggesting if you rule against us, we're going to say you've got blood in your hands and we're going to say it's a partisan motive. There it is right there. Always, always. One of the things I'm telling you I adore about doing this show and having run for office and having, worked in the White House and done all this stuff and been a cop is I think I have this antenna. Ding, 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 ding. When I see narratives, I know what's coming because the left never tells you what the real story, what they're really about. The real story is they just love tyranny. And anyone they can get to enforce their tyranny in central planning, cops, bureaucrats, or otherwise, they are going to support because they want their boot on your neck. Then the economy also. Right. That's it. It's no more complicated than that. But they can't tell you that. And they know these lawsuits they are going to lose, and they are going to lose bad. So here's the left warning people and putting out a little bat signal. Hey, just say it's partisan and frighten these judges into ruling in our favor. Every time. Every time we pick out leftist BS narratives. We're all over it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just to double down on yesterday's show, breaking news yesterday I'm not kidding, a really explosive report by Bret Baier and John Roberts at Fox News. The Washington Post has now been fully exposed as a full-blown propaganda outlet. What do I mean? Let's go to this headline we put up yesterday. This was the Washington Post. Their own headline, not doctored at all. It's their information. The Washington Post by Paulina Ferrazzi. Quote, Tom Cotton keeps repeating a coronavirus conspiracy theory that was already debunked. Senator Cotton repeated a fringe theory suggesting that the ongoing spread of the coronavirus is connected to research in the disease-ravaged epicenter of Wuhan, China. So that's a conspiracy theory. Now, as I tweeted out right before the show, if you check the timeline, whenever the liberal media suggests that a major story is a conspiracy theory, it probably should suggest to you there's an element of truth and they're trying to cover up that truth because it's damaging the Democrats. You should do your own homework and then double and triple down. Conspiracy theory, that term means nothing now. It means nothing.